Hello, everybody, and welcome. Let me get this out of my face. That might be helpful so you can see me. Those of you not on radio, welcome. Let's see. Denise is in the chat. Hello, Denise. Welcome. I'm sorry I was a little late. Ross and I were arguing over on his channel. Love him to death, but sometimes we argue. It's just the way it is. We have to. Keeps us healthy. All right. So how is everybody today? Yesterday was a good day. We got the show off without a hitch. We didn't get to argue with Ross beforehand, but we got the show off without a hitch, so it was pretty good. I was surprised that I didn't have any technical issues. I think one of the things that might have been wrong was while I was still live with Ross, I was in my studio, so I'm wondering if that... So what I did was I just totally left his studio, reopened, and came into my studio. Not that you're interested in behind the scenes, but I think that's what happened. I don't know. It was gremlins. Or I was hacked by the Chinese. I don't know. I got nothing. I am not Mr. Technical. So, all right. Well, welcome everybody. We're going to jump right in. As always, we're going to start off with the FEMA Daily Briefing. They actually had another one. Surprise. Yeah, they usually are pretty good. So I don't know what happened on Monday. I think maybe they were counting beans or something because they had all those numbers in there I hadn't seen before. Hello, Chris. Welcome. And everybody, please remember to come over to the Paranormal Guys with a Z on YouTube. You can also search out the Sportcat shows. Like, follow, share, and subscribe. We need your help. We need your support. And hit that thumbs up button while you're here. All right. So, where do we go? Let's see. First off, I don't like that. Can I do? I don't like that either. I'm just playing around here for a minute with my screen while I got a minute. Yeah, we'll just put... You can put me back now. How did I have it originally? Okay, I'm going to stick with that. For those of you on radio wondering what the hell I'm doing, I'm trying to move my screen around. All right, so the FEMA Daily Operations Briefing. And for those of you that are new, I'm going to say this for the first couple of shows. You can search out YouTube every day and find shows that, well, they talk about how you're going to die today. The end of the world is today. These prepper shows, not that there's anything wrong with prepping. Don't at me. But we're not like that. We're telling you why we survived, why the grown-ups have the keys to the car, and we're going to live another day. Whether or not you like the grown-ups with the keys, well, that's up to you guys, not me. But yeah, I watch those shows so you don't have to. Supposedly, there's going to be a big market crash this week if you're into the market. I personally am not and have not researched it, but that's the buzz, that there's going to be a big market crash because the rich people are selling off stocks and so are the banks. I don't know what any of that means because, well, I'm not financial. I'm usually not financial and I'm usually not political. Ross, he stepped in my cornfield today talking medical stuff. So, all right. So FEMA is not currently operating any incidents. They are concerned with hazard areas, which is still the Midwest, which, if you remember yesterday, the storms on the West Coast were moving and they're going into the Ohio Valley. Now we're talking about snowfall in the upper Midwest, Chris, in the Great Lakes in the Northeast. And then we're getting into a fire weather season in the South and the Southwest. So with high winds, that's going to be a problem. So I did not look up what the disaster declaration amendment was. I guess I'll have to look that one up. It's probably, well, since it's got KY, it's probably dealing with them. Kentucky, I mean. All right, so the national forecast today, Wednesday, it's going to be snowing up in Michigan, Wisconsin, parts of Minnesota, over to Pennsylvania and New York. My son is currently in Illinois, so I'm sure he'll see some snow before he gets out of there. And it's going to snow in parts of the Northeast, Vermont and New Hampshire. So while the rain is going to trickle down into the lower, I don't know, what is that, Middle East? The middle of the country, Indiana, Kentucky, Tennessee, before it gets down south later this week, which will be Thursday or Friday. It looks like Tennessee might get some snow on Thursday. I'm really disappointed about that because, well, I'm not there. And of course, that's just going to push up into the Northeast, and it's going to continue to snow up there. It looks like, well, no, he won't get any snow in Chicago. Most of the snow is going to be further up, of course, all of Maine, and, well, it looks like pretty much all of Vermont, New Hampshire, parts of New York, Wisconsin, Michigan, up in there. Where are we talking about? It looks like they're going to get pretty decent snow, anywhere from a couple inches to 8 to 12, depending on what part, just west of Boston. Interesting. All right. Well, if you're in those areas, make sure to prepare because you will probably lose power. We were talking about the elevated fire risk for today. Well, as you can see, that is pretty much in the Midwest. It's Texas and down by the border in Arizona and New Mexico. So it's going to be a high fire weather condition. What that means is conditions are favorable with the winds, the temperature, and the humidity. So luckily, say tomorrow, the moisture is going to reach far enough down that should change that. So if we can get through today without any big fires, everybody keep their fingers and toes crossed. So we don't really have any major sunspot activity, much aurora activity, and it's pretty much going to be the same effect on the communications grids, which is usually it happens pretty much between South America and Africa over in the, whoa, wrong button. What the hell button did I hit? So yeah, that's where that is. So let me move this out of the way. Try and get messages while we're during the show in case something's going on. And all right, so they're still operating in Kentucky, West Virginia. Obviously, we know that they are working on rehousing Carolinas. It looks as though they're starting in California to work on that. I did not see if they passed a budget. We saw yesterday what they recommended for the different states. I did not see if it was a passed or approved as of yet. I don't know if our elected officials are still arguing about the balanced budget. So I did hear, though, and I don't know if this is true, but they did pass legislation where next year there will be no tax on Social Security tips or overtime. I think I heard that correctly, which that'll be a big win. So, oh yes, they did pass that. Hold on a minute. I got something for that. Hold on. I got something for that, I think. No, I don't. Where did it go? Well, I thought I had something for that. No, I don't. Well, apparently, get off the screen. Apparently, they did pass the bill yesterday, and every Democrat voted against it. Take that for what you want. So, I know, okay, it has nothing to do with the weather. But I was sidetracked. Sorry. Let's see. So the damage assessment is still being ongoing in Virginia, West Virginia, in Region 3 and Region 4 down in Louisiana. And they're looking at it in Hawaii as well, over on the far west. Declaration requests, no new ones since pretty much the beginning of the year. They've pretty much closed out the other one since they're rehousing, repatriating, I believe is what they're calling it. It's kind of a weird name. Okay, so this is what the Declaration Amendment is. Adds one county for assistance in Kentucky. Okay, that was issued. They approved that and agreed to that today. So that is the daily briefing. Nothing too significant. I found this and thought this was kind of interesting. This is pretty much, well, that's my local. It's my local. It's actually that warm today. Good Lord. I didn't realize it was that warm. That's my actual here in Atlanta conditions. You can see that there's some warnings out in the Northeast. Northeast, is that right? Yeah, that's right. Hey, Ken, welcome. Glad you're here. Please hit that thumbs up button. So I found this site, and this is called Weather Warning. I'm going to warn you if you go to it, be prepared because there is a lot of dinging going on when you first sign into it. It sends you alerts about every dang thing. So, yes, I brought this up. Ventura County, Florida. Good Lord. Now, Ventura County is obviously in California, wrong coast. I can't talk. Beaches, Malibu coast, LA, all points inland in Los Angeles. Dense fog, moderate. There's a gale warning up on the icy Cape. Small craft advisory in Guam. PZ, Pacific. I guess it's Pacific. Small craft advisory. Yeah, that's what that is. Yeah, Illinois, Kentucky, flooding, severe. So you can scroll through, and this is it's real time as the National Weather Service puts them out. And what's good about it, but that's also bad about it, is, like I said, when you sign into this thing, it will just ding the hell out of your phone, so or your computer, because it updates constantly. So yeah, we can see Arkansas flooding, California wind advisory, rip currents down in the coastal, what is that, the Gulf of America, Arkansas flood warning and small craft advisory. Illinois, Kentucky, more flooding. So we're pretty much getting into the later hours, the earlier hours before we signed on. But you can go check that out. It's weather warning. It's a free site. It's kind of cool. Just be prepared that you will get a lot of messages as soon as you sign on. It's crazy, but it's a cool site nonetheless. So we talk about our air quality, how good or bad the air quality is. Well, there's your answer. I didn't bring up the smoke plume today. See if I can bring that up. No, that's not it. It might be another. That might be another map, but I will try and pull that up, because we saw yesterday there was a smoke plume coming from Louisiana extending up into the northeast. Let's see if I can find that one. No, I don't want that. I want maps. Interactive map. Is that the one I want? Yep, that's the one I want. But where is base maps? No. Sorry, I should have pulled this one up beforehand, since we showed it yesterday. It was so good that it showed. There's also, it's showing for the different cities the ozone warnings. You can get that. That's our current air conditions. Here in Atlanta, we're getting a little bit of break, even though pollen is coming up. Up in Illinois, Chris, depending on where you are, you got a little break. Ken, up in the DC area, it's right on your side there. Ross, down where you are. Yerg's where you are. It's not very good air quality. So I'm going to try and find that, because now it's bugging me. I had that up yesterday. Fire and smoke map. Duh, right in front of me. So, no, I don't want any of that. Just get me to the site. Okay, it's going to bring up my location. Whatever. Everybody knows I'm in Atlanta. It's not a big secret. All right, so there's the current smoke map and the current fires that are in the United States. Remember, some of these are set for burning off underbrush in the ground. So it looks like it's where we were talking about there in Oklahoma, Texas, Louisiana, Mississippi, those fires. It's a high fire area today. Let's hope that doesn't spread. It's smoky there. And you can see the smoke down from the fire in, it looks like, New Orleans. Well, no, actually, that's an Alabama, Mississippi line. And that smoke's going to extend all the way over just above Ross, crossing pretty much the top of the Gulf of America panhandle. Tallahassee, Pensacola, Tallahassee, Jacksonville, and then it's going to escape out into the ocean in the jet stream. So if you're in those areas, you will see some smoke and smog, and that's not helping your air quality. So, all right. So there we go. That brings us right back to where we were with our air quality, and part of the reason that we're in a moderate level for the South today. All right, let's move on. No, we've seen that one. We've seen that one. And we've seen that one. Here we go. Here's the one everybody likes. This is our current jet stream and winds. We saw yesterday how off of the West Coast, that's moved further north up. Well, I guess that's in the, what is that called up there? The Alaskan Sea. It's moved up further north, and it's pushing in up there, and that the winds have moved more across the top of the Rockies and pushing down. So, and it's such a relaxing one. Chris is right. You can just sit and watch that one all day long. And like I said, anyone that wants to, they can find these things by simply Googling them. This one is at earthnullschool.net. And it's pretty much they take all the data, they put it together, AI enhance it, and show you in real time what the, well, I won't say it's real time, but it's pretty close to real time of what the winds are worldwide. Yeah, Chris, I love this map too. I brought it up specifically because it is so nice to, and you can zoom in. So you could, it's with your mouse, you can zoom in and see what it's doing exactly and where. So it's kind of cool if you like to follow weather, if you're a weather nerd, which I kind of am. I don't understand all the terms, but I kind of am. So it's kind of cool. But yeah, you can see that the winds that were pushing across Washington, Oregon, and California are now advanced. They've went over the Rockies and are pushing down into the Midwest, right into where that fire danger is. So everybody in the Midwest, please be cautious today. And I brought this one up because it's not as pretty, but this is to the lower 48. And it's showing the exact speeds and time. Well, as of 12:16, which was an hour ago. Can I update this? Nope, 12:16. And the top speed of the winds looks like going Denver up into the north is around 30 miles an hour. So it's not quite yet to the Windy City there, Chris. Not quite. All right, so we're going to skip over and see what our president is doing. President Donald Trump, they had the in-call pool time for the press was 9 a.m. And he's going to have a cabinet meeting at 11. And then at 3, he's going to sign more executive orders. I didn't see what the ones he signed were yesterday, but I kind of got busy doing other things after we signed off. So, but he did sign some executive orders. And I'm not sure what they were. The one thing that was weird about this cabinet meeting is they had Elon Musk there, and he's not a cabinet secretary. Hopefully he's just there to explain this whole email thing, which they've rescinded, they've rescinded. It's a mess. So I'm going to leave that alone. All right, so Ross on his show, if any of you all followed us over, Ross and I got into it about the measles outbreaks. He says the measles outbreak is horrible. Well, they're so horrible, the CDC doesn't list them in the United States. Neither Alaska or Hawaii, Puerto Rico maybe, but it's all located in Africa, Europe, and then down into Middle East, parts of Russia, into Asia. That's not saying there are none here, but the average exposure time is around 30 days. From the time you're exposed to it, within 30 days, you'll get a rash. The average age of children that die from it is 6. And I know there's people that are up and down on this, should get the vax, shouldn't get the vax. It's still the law. You still have to vaccinate your children for measles. I think we all were vaccinated and we all turned into healthy, normal, maybe except for Jurgs, adults. And so do what you want. But don't risk your children's lives for a disease we've cured already. So you can see by the map there, the outbreak is more. There's other outbreaks. I read in the Republic of Congo, there's an outbreak now of a deadly disease, and 30 people died from it, but they've all been eating bat brains. Is that a delicacy? Is that, I don't know. Tell me if I'm wrong. Is that like mine with grits and eggs? I don't know. All right, let's get out of the political arena. We'll leave that for Ross. What is this warning down here in Nigeria? Pedestrian show. Why is it showing up in Nigeria? Good Lord. Pedestrian struck in Franklin, Massachusetts. Struck. They're transporting to Worcester Trauma Center. Why is that showing up? That's definitely in the wrong place. Oh, mercy. All right, we'll start out in Phoenix, where they had a very large fire. No, one-story storage facility fire. I don't know what the storage facility fire was. We can research that one. Georgia's always got something on. College Park, Had a fire last night, but it was a small vegetation fire. Yeah, it wasn't that big a deal. Out here in Winder, they did have an apartment fire with 4 people injured from the fire. We're going to talk about that here in a little bit. Well, not that particular one. We are going to stay a little close to home. All hands on a fire in Clinton, New Jersey. First floor of a 2-story private dwelling. So hopefully they got a pretty good knock on that and got that out. We'll go to the yellow boxes first in New York. Train incident. This is New Jersey. Victim has been pronounced by dead. So it was a train versus pedestrian. Yeah, probably not a good idea. And gas leak within Manhattan, which required a hazmat response in Con Ed. And a motor vehicle crash with confirmed pin. That means entrapment. So, and New York did have a very large fire yesterday. 13th Division reports all fire extinguished fires under control. They did have a huge 5-alarm fire yesterday in New York City. And in New Jersey, Sparta, New Jersey, basement fire. Was that one from yesterday? I think, yeah, we talked about that one. And fire in a private dwelling. Yeah, there was a huge apartment fire we talked about in New York City yesterday. And I think 5 New York firefighters were injured. And I think 4 civilians. It was non-life threatening. So luckily. And Rochester, a state trooper on scene with 2 people shot. Wonder what that's about. That's right in downtown Rochester. And they also had a fire. Just a house fire. So it's unusual in a city to see a state trooper the first on the scene. All right. New Hampshire, fire between floors in a 2-story dwelling. I think, did we discuss that one yesterday? Some of these are old, so I haven't really updated them. Another fire in New Hampshire, but it was just a single house fire. That's pretty much all of that we've covered. We even got into Nigeria down there. Huh? Got me. Okay, yeah, Bronx leaves 7 injured. 200 firefighters responded to the 5-alarm blaze. You can see that the wind really engulfed that building and caused the fire to grow exponentially to the point where firefighters had to bail out. 200 to battle it. I'm sure they were battling not only the high winds, the cold too. It was a huge blaze in a 6-story residential on Wallace Avenue in the East Bronx around 1:40 a.m. The video showed the building engulfed in flames, billowing out the roof. One thing I've always been curious about, and if any of my New York City residents want to send me a message and tell me, I see in a lot of these pictures of these high rises, well, they're not really high rises, they're like mid rises, where they have the fire escapes on the outside of the building. Are they still functional? And is that a requirement for certain stories? I know that a fire ladder, as far as an aerial ladder, the highest we can go is 110 foot unless you have a specialty piece of equipment, which I don't think anybody in this, maybe 1 or 2 cities in the States do. Above that, you're having to manually go to them above the 10th floor. But I've always been curious about what the code is. Maybe, Chris, you could be right. Maybe they came. I ran a call in downtown Atlanta of a pedestrian that was hit by a car in a crosswalk, and she wasn't injured too badly. I mean, like maybe a sprained ankle or broken leg or something, but it wasn't anything that she wasn't going to, get well from. And before we could leave the scene, police were like, hold up, I need her. And I was thinking, oh, well, maybe, she's got a warrant or something. And he comes in the back of the ambulance, his hands are like 6 tickets. She got hit by a car and he ticketed her for jaywalking. I thought that was cruel. They said within an hour, the wind conditions elevated the fire to where it was 5 alarms. A lot of times when you take a fire to 5 alarms, not only is it that you're bringing more manpower, usually on a ladder truck, you'll get 5 people. On an engine, you'll get 4 people, but a lot of times it's well, for relief for one thing, and that's of a fire that size, but it's also for the fire truck itself, because a fire hydrant can only handle 3 connections, one on each side and out the front. And if you put a water thief on it, you can extend that, but the problem is with the flow of water and hoses, you have friction loss. So in other words, you have to every so often put an engine in there to pump the water to the next location, because otherwise it won't be able to be pulled into the fire truck. There's not enough friction in the hose. So a lot of times they call additional resources, not just for the manpower, but for the equipment, because you're having to hit multiple hydrants. And whenever you want to attack a large fire, you want to try and get hydrants that are on different water grids. And if you know, in cities, everything's pretty much in blocks and laid out. Well, the water underneath the city is too. And you want to try and get on the largest diameter pipe you can, but you don't want to take all the water from that one. You want to try and get it from other grids. So that's also a big factor. They'll bring trucks in to relay, and the men that were on the crew, with the exception of the driver engineer who is pumping the fire, go to assist in the firefighting operations. So that's a lot of times, aside from just the manpower, the relief, the weather, the extent of the fire, it's the need for more water. Basically, think of it this way: big fire, big water. You know, if you're not going to put out your house burning with a garden hose, please don't try that. Please. I have, but please don't try that. It ended well for me, but it might not for everybody. So yeah, that's the reason that you'll see a lot of these called up. 7-year-old boy was recognized for saving his family in a house fire. Oh, that's great. The fire department went out there and gave him a certificate. Looks like they did it in his school in front of his classmates. Hopefully he'll grow up. That's in Kansas City. Hopefully he'll grow up and he'll be a fireman. So good for him. Let's see if we got another fire news down here. No, that's just the same story. I do have another fire story. Man killed at, man, we're just hitting all the fire news. Man killed in Naperville house fire identified. The identity of a man killed in Naperville fire this week has been identified as a 75-year-old that didn't make it out of their house. That's unfortunate. A lot of times it's rough for the elderly to get out. That's why working smoke detectors, check your smoke detectors often, clean them for dust. I'm a big proponent of that. Sedalia woman dies following a late night house fire in Kansas. Crews with the Sedalia, I'm pronouncing that wrong probably, just after 11 p.m. Monday. So this is a little old, but I'm just scrolling through it. Heavy smoke and flames coming. When they got there, they took immediate action to locate the victim and was able to locate her on the second floor. But she was probably, they're saying they performed life-saving techniques on her. She was probably overcome by the gas before the fire actually got to her. So, all right. Yesterday afternoon, Secretary Noem announced that the agency will enforce laws that penalize aliens in the country illegal. Okay, so what this is about is they're saying we're going to enforce the laws that are on the books. It's about time. And aliens' failure to depart the United States is a crime that could result in significant financial penalty, and it will be registered as a crime. Well, let's not forget, when you cross the border without permission, that's considered a crime. That's why it's called illegal entry into our country. So we're now going to enforce them. And this is the part that's probably going to upset Ross. So let's just get it out of the way. So I was reading an article and I wanted to verify its facts. So I went into a gov.website and did a little homework and found that there is a security operations directive dated March 26, 2021. I agree, Chris. It does. She is pleasant on the eye. Madam Secretary. Is that Madam Secretary? Okay, so anyhow, in recognition of the significant increase in the number of non-citizens and non-U.S. nationals without sufficient travel documents transferring via the aviation sector, the TSA has partnered with U.S. Customs and Border ICE in border protection to seek acceptable documentation and verification. Now, what do you think these could be? Do you think it could be a photo ID, a driver's license? Do you think maybe it could be, I don't know, a power bill? What possible forms of identification would ICE be willing to accept? Oh, let's look. Here are 7 of them. A warrant for arrest of the alien. Let me say that again. A warrant for arrest of the alien. Warrant of removal or deportation. Order of release on recognition. That's not the right spelling. Order of sufficiency. Order of supervision. Or notice to appear. Those are all legal documents. Those are acceptable. Those mean you're a criminal. You go back up here on the show. March 6, 2021, Operations Directive. I'm going to leave it there because everybody can figure out, do the simple math, who was in charge. But yeah, so if they had a warrant, they were illegal to come into the United States. So you're a criminal from another country, and that's it. Oh, good Lord. So anyhow, Ross, I'll forward that to you if you'd like to read it. It's available on tsa.gov, but you can go back and do the math in 2016 and figure out who the executives in charge were that made that decision. That's obviously that's no longer the case. I'll leave it at that. All right, so we're going to get out of politics. Ross, you dragged me into it. Sorry. Sorry, everybody. Have you ever wondered, we talk about what's above us a lot, and I can bring it up as far as air traffic, and that includes just commercial airlines, general aviation, which could be people flying from city to city from business or medevacs, and then you have the military. But there's other things up there. And we know there's balloons up there, but up until recently, I didn't know you could track the balloons. Yes. You can see in real time where the balloons are. Let's just pick one here. We'll pick one over Alabama. Looks like it's right over Bobby's house. So when you click on it, it shows you its current course. So it originated in Alabama. This is a weather map, and it's currently at 80,114 feet. And it's transmitting on a frequency of 405.3 megahertz. You can actually pick that up if you have a scanner. You probably just hear, if you remember the old computers that had the modem, when you dial in, you had that noise, computer connection. That's probably all you would hear. But I found this interesting that you can actually pull up weather balloons and see what they were doing. Like this one here. Where was this one? Click on it. Okay, here we go. So this one started over on Colonial Beach and made its way all the way over to the coast. And this one is pretty much following a similar path. It looks like it was probably released from the same agency. The little barrels here represent ones that they've recovered. And they put notes in there. Nice chat with farmer's wife. She said that they found in the soybean field back when the beans were still in, and they stuck it on the edge of the field and left it there for easy pickup. Was really surprised that this one didn't go through enough problem like the other one. Looks like it's in good condition. So they put notes on when they recover these, because these could come crashing down in your backyard. So yeah, I found that pretty cool. See what some of these notes are. Part of dual, I assume it's a technical term, took a couple of years for it to fall out of a tree. Last check, March 2024, storm must have blown it. Tree was snapped in half of the ground. It was just recently found and looks to be okay. Oh, that's funny. So yeah, you can see little notes here. Nice lady. Shoot was still in field, but clearly went through combine. Sown is what they call a technical word for these. Is either in food chain or buried in new wheat. In food chain, I'm assuming that means a tractor probably picked it up. I don't know, but I found that cool. So you can track other things that are up above you. Chris, let's see what crashed up here near you. Second recovery of the day. Just predicted the road and the field. Okay, well, so that one was found in Pontiac, that's Michigan, I guess. Sorry, I thought that was Illinois. Is that Illinois? Yeah, it's Illinois. And this one, predicted point and sending. Okay, well, also some of these you'll see, like this one, K6 VVT. That's an amateur radio operator. Sometimes amateur radio operators will put up balloons too. There's more things than just weather that they do. Amateur radio will sometimes put them up to see how far they will go, how far they can transmit. So sometimes it's kind of cool like that. See, this balloon is currently, I should pull that wind map up because it seems like this is going in the wrong direction. It's currently at 15,000 feet, so it must be descending, and it's transmitting on 400.2. And it's right over the Yuma test range. Probably not a good place for it to land. It looks like it took off from, well, it didn't travel too far, it doesn't look like. I wonder what that little sign is. Oh, probably a map sign. Leave it alone, dummy. And this one is also headed to the Yuma test range. Probably not a good place to have your balloon land. And it is 70,141 feet, and it looks like it's maintaining its elevation, whereas the other one was descending. Yeah, probably not a good place to crash your balloon. This one is up over Halifax, Nova Scotia, and it is currently at 87,424 feet. Still, once again, out of general aviation. It looks like it's headed out to sea. All right. So yeah, that's just something else about it. And it is worldwide. You can find them even in other countries do it. And I'm sure some of these are probably military. It does seem like a balloon magnet, like the winds just mysteriously brought them there. I'm sure some of these are probably military in nature, but they don't list them as that. They list them as weather balloons. Like with NASA, NASA, we're going to the moon, but they do top secret government mojo shit all the time. So, yeah. So it's probably not listed. But yeah, there it is. And I'll just pull up here real quick. Where is it? This might have been one for the site where we track the planes. Obviously, it's a very busy day in aviation worldwide. You just really don't realize how big it is and how small our world is until you really take something like this into the picture. We'll zoom down and let's filter this out a little bit here. Let's take only and have military flights. This is currently what our military is doing. They're out flying around all over the place, which isn't unusual this time of day. It's a Gulfstream, probably carrying some elected officials from up in the Maryland area somewhere. And it's an empty call sign, which means it's probably a fighter jet. There you go. Now you can look and see where. Now this is the ones that we call that are squawking, which means they're talking. They're not hiding what they're doing. You will only usually see fighter planes if they're refueling, and then they'll turn their tracking off. And so it's kind of cool. Mom actually lives over one of the areas. McGee Tyson, their Air Force air base there is a air refueling base, and when they refuel, the big circle, part of the circle goes over Mom's house, and they try and do it over rural areas. and you will only see the jets turn on their lights, and you'll only see them pop up on the map when they're going to get fuel. Then after that, they duck out and they're gone. And usually each tanker for the aircraft tanker supports probably about 30 fighters. So when you see one in a circling pattern, you can assume that there's up to 30 fighters there. Yes, Chris is 100% correct. When you see that current aviation map, it makes you realize how huge 9/11 shutting down everything was to do. Yeah, because that's more than a small city above our head at all times. And they had to get them down and get them to a safe area. And we didn't know exactly where the threats were. So, yeah. A lot of times you'll see these little planes, these T-38s. These are fighter pilots in training. They usually squawk because, well, they could get squirrely and do something silly, so they want to know where they're at. So you'll see them pop up. But a lot of times, like these here, oh, well, that one there, is that Air Force Two? No, that can't be. Why would Air Force Two be circling? It's a dignitary flight. Huh. Okay. Well, it's not identifying as a SAM, special aviation mission, and that's usually what they call SAM. If they're not with when they're with president on board or vice president on board or Air Force One or Two. Huh, that's interesting. Maybe like all things, planes and pilots, they need to test and they need to get their flight hours in. So maybe they're getting some flight hours in. Don't know. That's interesting. I wasn't expecting to see a executive military plane show up, a Boeing C-32. So, and there's one that's kind of doing a little circling. You can see another plane behind it. It's probably relieving the other one. And you can assume somewhere in that area, it's a large area over Cincinnati, there's probably somewhere around 30 fighter pilots. It looks like one of those tankers is probably going to relieve the other. So, of course, it's probably known to some, it's not to me, what the range of a fighter pilot is or the time that they can be in the air. But yeah. So yeah, you can see, and sometimes if you check this out late at night, you'll see what they call the sub hunters off the coast, and you'll also see the transmitters for the subs at night a lot of times when they're sending orders from up above out to the submarines. You can see them sometimes at night. And of course, once again, if they're squawking and it's a military aircraft, it will pop up. I believe it said this was a French plane. Is that what I just popped on? Yep, France, military, Airbus. You can see some of their stuff. France jet. It's not showing it. Oh yeah, it's showing its flight path. Yeah, it came out of Florida. Looks like it came out of Tampa there, didn't it? And it's headed south. So it could be carrying executives. It could be carrying all kinds of things. One thing of particular interest, and they will also shut off their communications, but you will notice there's a France fighter. Why do we have a France fighter? They must be training over here. They're coming out of the Keys, so yeah, probably. Well, I don't know. We also fuel up countries that are traveling through, because I landed in Bermuda, and of course, you know, that is still part of the Royal Military, and they came in and were refueling there. It was pretty badass. Anyhow, I got sidetracked. Sorry. One thing here recently, you will see a lot of flights come down and they will turn off their communications somewhere in here. It's illegal for us to fly over Cuba unless you have a special certification or license. We did it a few times as a med flight, but you have to pay a lot of money, and there's still some danger in doing it. So a lot of times you will totally avoid their airspace. But here recently, you will see a lot of them come down off of the coast of Cuba, and when they turn to go right in there, they turn off all their talking. And it probably won't show it on the map, but that is where Guantanamo Bay is, where they're housing the worst people. Denise says she was there on 9/11. Everything, and I mean everything, was shut down. Yeah. And it's a lot to do. Like I said, right now, currently, this is just military. And we turn just the military off, and hopefully my computer don't crash. It's a lot of people over our country. And look at the people coming in to our country and going out. If they're coming in, we've got to house and put all these people that are coming in, and they're going to be here for a while. So yeah, that was a big deal. Okay, that's back to the article. TSA under Biden focused on speeding up checkpoints for illegal aliens without IDs, and part of the DHS provided approved documents or warrants and orders of removal, criminal activity from other countries. So if you were a criminal, it's okay. Come to America. We love you. Not. Speaking of which, we talked earlier about KG says, I remember seeing the sped up sky clearance on TV news. It was crazy. Yeah, it is crazy when you speed it up. You can do that on flightaware.com for 24 hours. And it's like just a million little bees. But yeah, I mentioned earlier that the Democrats all voted unanimously against overtime, no tax on overtime, no tax on tips, no tax on Social Security. Before I finish my thing about illegal aliens, the Lincoln Riley Act, she was killed here in Georgia by an illegal alien. Almost every Democrat voted against that bill. Remember that when you go to midterms. Remember all of you people listening that are waiters, waitresses, bartenders, barbacks, cooks. They want to keep the tax money on your tips. Remember that. Just remember that. So, and they wanted illegal aliens here too. Criminal illegal aliens. All right, I'm going to get off this. I'm probably making Ross so mad he's throwing something at his radio. I've done my job for the day. All right, love you, Ross. All right, so we'll get into a little bit of sporting news. Yesterday, college basketball had a big day yesterday. Tennessee overcame LSU in a big win. Georgia beat Florida. Good for them. Duke beat Miami. Oh, Alabama won. Good Lord, Alabama won in triple digits. Oklahoma over Iowa State. Wisconsin over Washington. This is all men's basketball. Missouri over South Carolina. Louisville over Virginia Tech. And Marquette over Providence. And go down in here. No, I'm sorry. That was female basketball, wasn't it? No, that was just college basketball in general. What was it? Yesterday, I thought it broke it up in male and female. Or maybe only the males played yesterday. Maybe that's what it was. We didn't really cover NBA because, well, I haven't had any people asking for it yet. I do know that I'm going to have people requesting here in the very near future for soccer scores. So I'm going to have to learn something about soccer. Please help me educate because I don't know anything about soccer. So, nope, there's women's basketball. Sorry. Hit the wrong button. And there was only one game yesterday. It looks like today there are multiple games. Usually they do play opposite of each other for TV support. The NHL was active yesterday as well. And I don't really follow that either. But for any of my followers, if you want sports scores, I'll be glad to give them to you. Just let me know. We did talk about baseball a little bit. Well, sometimes you got to throw everything out their window to see what sticks because, you know, there's fans that like a little of this, a little of that. Hang on, we're going to get back into some other news. So just hang tight, Wendell. Baseball is in spring training. So Braves beat the Pirates. I really don't know why we count these as scores. Orioles beat the Tigers because a lot of these people don't make the team. The real players really aren't going to start playing toward until the end of this month or the end of next month, because I think spring training MLB opening day, I think, is like April 15th, I think. In our first America's national game, our first game is going to be in China, televised nationally. Chris says he's a soccer guy, Liverpool fan in the English Premier League. Well, Chris, you may have to help me because we're about to go online in radio stations down under that are going to want those scores. So you're going to have to help me figure it out, Chris. I need your help. And KG, if you're still listening, I'm going to need your help figuring out Australian football because it's going to be a thing. I'm going to need to tell the sports. And I will gladly tell the sports. I just don't want to sound like a dumbass. And that's pretty easy for me to do. So, but yeah, their spring training doesn't mean anything. I mean, if you look, Braves split the roster. Half the rosters played the Pirates, half played the Red Sox. So the spring training really doesn't mean anything. But I will tell you, from a fan's point of view, I wish that the Braves had never left Disney because, thank you, Chris. When you went to Disney for spring training, it was fun. It was fun to bring the kids. It was a fun thing. It was expensive. It was Disney, but it was fun to do. And the Atlanta Braves have moved out of Disney because it was cost prohibitive for the team, which doesn't make any sense because it was much closer than where they are now. They're down in South Florida, Southeast Florida. So it's harder for the fans to get to. You could hop down to Orlando from Atlanta in 8-9 hours. Catch a hotel room overnight, catch a game, go back to the hotel, hit the pub, go back to the hotel, and then go home. You do it on a weekend. It was a lot of fun for the kids. I miss that. I did go several years to spring training. It was always that's where I got to meet. And if you notice on my bookshelf back there, I have a signed baseball. I have a few of them, but that one's the one I'm most proud of. I got that during spring training. I saw security clearing out a section to my right, and I was like, okay, well, they're probably going to bring one of the big stars of baseball in or something. And I see a guy come over and he's like, hey, we're going to clear out these next 4 seats next to you. Is that okay? Yeah, it's fine. Whatever. I don't care. I'm enjoying the game. And so they escort an elderly gentleman down. It was Tommy Lasorda. And so during the inning change, during the middle of the innings, kids would come running up and he would autograph their baseballs. And if the kids were rude to him, or if it was adult, he would tell them no. And so after this went on, I was watching all this, and so I started asking him. I said, hey, I got a couple questions. He's like, well, come over here. So I sat down next to Tommy Lasorda and had a spring training Braves Dodgers game called in my right ear by Tommy Lasorda. And it was the coolest thing. Told me facts and stuff I never knew about baseball. Told me what they were going to do with the shifts and how it went. It was pretty cool. And so I will say that was it. And finally I asked him, I said, hey, look, I know you were saying no to the adults, and I don't want to be a dick, but I got a ball. You're here. And he's like, yeah, no problem. And at the end of the signature, he put HOF on it. And he said, here, I made you an extra $250. I'm like, what? He's like, yeah, my signature. And I'm like, well, dude, this is going on my shelf. He's like, well, maybe your grandkids or something one day. And I'm like, okay, I don't understand. He said, if you put HOF on it, it means it was signed after I was in the Hall of Fame. It makes it worth more money. It's like, that's pretty badass. So that one I proudly display. It was great getting a game called by him. John Smoltz, he was a regular in Cummings. He was a hell of a pitcher too. All right, so we're going to jump out of that. And Travis Kelce, oh, poor fella. He's got such a bad life. Him and, I started to say Britney Spears, but God, Casey will kill me. Taylor Swift. He's got such a bad life. But apparently he was battling a pretty big illness ahead of the Super Bowl loss to the Eagles. If you remember, he was pretty inactive during the game. They just keep saying, I highlighted every time they called here, illness. They just called a big illness. And he said he wasn't making excuses. Obviously, they're professional athletes, but they won't say what the illness was. Seems like Taylor Swift would have known. At any rate, the Eagles won. Yeah, sucked. Not an Eagles fan. Grew up in Washington, D.C. How's my time running? Okay, I'm doing good. So overnight in Clayton County, Georgia, which is just to the south of me, a police officer was shot, and he was only shot in the leg, but the bad guy is in critical condition after a SWAT standoff. So happened in Jonesboro, which is south of the city. They responded to a report of a person shot. Officers found a man suffering from a gunshot wound and was taken to the hospital. And then as they were gathering information and tracking the suspect, well, there was a shooting. Wendell says, yes, he lived there and he would see him at restaurants, grocery stores with his daughter and wife. Oh, that's cool. It's cool to have celebrities that live there. During the SWAT operation, one of the officers was shot in the leg, was taken to Grady Memorial, and the suspect was hit by multiple gunshots and was taken to the hospital. The officer is expected to recover, and the suspect has been critically injured. So, yeah, Clayton County officer last night. I pulled that up to see. We're going to try and start following line of duty deaths, injuries, and things to both police and firefighters. So, firefighter injured while responding to a house fire in Shreveport, Louisiana. He was taken for minor burns after responding to a vacant house fire. So, sounds like he's going to be okay. No other injuries were reported. The cause remains under investigation. And police officer and woman injured after being struck by a vehicle. This is in Sunrise, Florida. A driver was in custody after a violent hit-and-run attack in Sunrise left a Lauderhill police officer and a female injured. It occurred around 5:35 yesterday afternoon on the Sunset Strip. Witnesses said the driver appeared to deliberately target the police officer, striking him multiple times before fleeing the scene. Dash video captured the brutal attack. I'm not going to show it here. You can go Google it and find it yourself. Captured the chilling moments. An SUV veered off the road, ramming into the officer and pedestrian on North University Drive. Witnesses said they didn't believe it was happening at first. The video shows the driver circling back and hitting the officer again and then reversing to hit him a third time. He, as per the witnesses, plainly tried to kill him, then proceeded to back up and run over them multiple times trying to kill the officers. The officer got up and hid for his life behind the trees. He had a pew-pew. Witnesses reported that the driver had initially pulled in the parking lot, got out of the vehicle, and spoken with a woman before suddenly accelerating and striking both victims. After the attack, the driver fled, but quickly located the vehicle and took the suspect into custody, and at least 10 officers were involved in the arrest. Both were transported to Broward General for treatment. Police have not said anything other than the officer is stable, but faces a long road to recovery due to multiple injuries. And they have not given an update on the female's condition. They have not yet named the suspect or provided details on potential charges or causation. Remember, just yesterday I said we're going to see attacks by vehicles and knives. So be aware, be situational aware. It sounds like this, I'm going to guess that this person had something to do with the female and, well, intentionally did that, obviously. Surprised the officer didn't get off a few rounds, and he should have. All right, before we end up my rambling for today, I went over my 1 hour mark. Injured owl rescued by officer after the storm. So the storm's in Washington, and owl was injured. He was rescued by the Camas police officer. In a post on social media, photos show Officer Langman putting the injured bird into a cardboard box. Oh, isn't that cute? So yes, the owl is being cared to by a police officer and probably taken to be rehabilitated. That's pretty good. That's our feel-good story for the day. So there you go. We'll just leave my Facebook down there. But yeah, so that's our feel-good story. No, before I leave me alone. Yeah, I was taken to the Bird Alliance of Oregon for medical treatment, hoping for speedy recovery for his injured wing. Well, he probably won't make it back out into the real world, but he'll probably have a nice, comfy life in a zoo somewhere. So good for him. Uh, Chris says the owl photo is good, but not particularly Christy known good, but acceptable. Did you go to the Reddit page I told you about yesterday? So, asking for a friend. I think that's all I got to share with you today. It seems like it went by faster than I planned on it, but there's not always exciting things to talk or tell you about. But I do want to continue to get comment, feedback, and support from everyone. I appreciate everybody that takes the time out of their day to watch us, and I appreciate people that take the time out of their day to listen to us on Yerg's Radio, Rainbow Radio, and probably about to be Australia, and I think another part of Florida. I'm not sure on that. Well, actually, they may already be listening. So welcome. I'll have to. I gotta remember your call sign. I'm sorry, I don't know it yet. But we're growing here and we're learning, and as we're learning, we're is a good thing. Chris says he did go to the Reddit page, and and it was a positive experience. Yes, it was. Reddit never fails to surprise me, whether it's for comedy content for one of my shows, odd news, or sometimes help on things that you would never figure you would get help on. So Reddit never fails to surprise me. So yeah, that's pretty much wrapping it up for today. This is obviously not going to be on the Bigfoot Radio Network, but this probably will end up being on, oh man, I'm sorry to the Florida radio station. I'm still learning. The new affiliate, we thank you for your support. Of course, to Ross, yergsradio.com, Rainbow Radio. We appreciate all they do for us. Even if Ross and I sometimes get into it, we still love each other. It's proof that you can be on one side and one on the other and still be civil, not call names. And the minute you start name calling, and he knows this as well, if he starts name calling, I'm out. I don't do that. But yeah, we appreciate him for all he does, and we're growing. So hopefully Australia very soon, and Florida, thank you. And I'm trying to think where else you can find us. Wednesday night. Well, tonight is Wednesday night, isn't it? We have a great show lined up tonight on the Pair Are Normal Guys. If you want to tune in on Yerg's Radio and Rainbow Radio, it starts at 9. And of course, it will be here on YouTube. The Pair Are Normal Guys with a Z. We have two witches. We have a Midwestern cowboy gypsy witch, and we have an Appalachian witch. So it's going to be great. Amanda's going to be joining me, and we're going to see what happens. Of course, you know, Amanda is one of the two broke witches. Her and Shay do a show on Monday night here on my network, and of course, they're on Yerg's Radio as well. So yeah, that'll be fun. And then if you want Thursday from noon till 2, 1400 Eastern Standard Time, you can go to www.thethinlinerockstation.com and you can hear my radio show. I will be doing some rock and roll. It depends on my mood. Sometimes I go a little country, sometimes I go a little pop. Thanks to one of my new fans, I try and throw in a little Taylor Swift. I'm learning. And so you can catch me there on the Thin Line Rock Station. I appreciate their support and everything they do. And then this week, we're going to have a special episode, and I'm not even aware of all the content yet, but Cheyenne is lining up a Misfit show. We haven't had one in a while because schedules, people moving, weather, illness, just life got in the way. So we're going to have a Misfit show this Saturday. A lot of the old and new characters are going to be there. I have no idea what Cheyenne has lined up for me, so I might want to have a drink in my hand when we do this show. And that will be carried across all of our networks, which we appreciate. Afterwards, if you want to go to the description on any of my shows, you can find the links if you choose to send me a Mountain Dew, because trust me, I am all jacked up on Mountain Dew to get this show going and through. So, yeah. Everybody, please remember to like, subscribe, hit that thumbs up button. Chris, hopefully I will see you later tonight. Thank you for the compliment. I hope that it was a good show. And we will see everybody later. If you have any questions, you can also send me a message at speakpipe.com/sportcat. And you can shoot me an email at sportcat@protonmail.com, or any of my radio affiliates will get a message to me. Everybody have a great day. For those of you coming back tonight for the Paranormal Guys, we'll see you then. Everybody else, hopefully I will see you tomorrow. You want to know if I have any Dale Boswell music? I do not know the answer to that, but I will ask the station director if they do. Because sometimes we can get some pretty unique things. He got a song for me that was high dubstep EDM, and he actually loved it. So yeah, I will ask Dale Boswell. I'll make a note of that right now. Hold on a minute. Let me copy and paste this before I forget. Yeah, I'll do that. Dale Boswell. Everybody else have a great day. Wendell, make sure to tune in tonight and tune in to me tomorrow to thinlinerockstation.com. Hopefully I'll get your Dale Boswell in. If not, I'll get it next week, hopefully. Basically, I'll have it right off. Everybody have a great day. Ross, love you. 30 days for the measles, buddy. Goodbye.